5 years. That is how long Lauren and I had been married when I decided to come home early on our anniversary with flowers and champagne ready to surprise the woman I loved more than anything. I had spent the morning planning the perfect evening at her favorite restaurant, imagining the smile on her face when she saw what I had prepared. I trusted her, completely believed in us without question. I had no idea that by sunset, everything I believed about us would shatter. What I found when I got home that afternoon would change my life forever. Before I continue with what happened that day, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever trusted someone completely only to have that trust broken in the worst possible way, you will understand what I am about to share. Please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, because this story gets intense, and you will want to hear how it ends. Make sure to turn on notifications so you do not miss what comes next. So let me take you back to that morning, to the last day I was naive enough to believe my marriage was solid. My name is Domingo, and 7 years ago I met Lauren at a company picnic. I was 21, fresh out of college, working as a junior software engineer at a tech startup in Portland, Oregon. She was 20, a marketing coordinator at the same event, playing volleyball with a group of coworkers. Our eyes met across the field, and I swear it felt like one of those movie moments. She had this energy about her, this brightness that drew everyone in. When the game ended, I worked up the courage to walk over, and we started talking about work, about our dreams, about everything and nothing all at once. The connection was instant, undeniable. We dated for 2 years before I proposed at that same park where we first met. I got down on one knee near the volleyball court with the sunset behind us and asked her to be my wife. She said yes, with tears streaming down her face. Our wedding was small, intimate, just 50 people who really mattered to us. It was perfect. For 5 years, we built a life together in Portland. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where kids rode bikes down the street and neighbors waved hello. I thought we had everything we needed. Lauren was a senior marketing analyst by then, passionate about her career. She was the kind of person who thrived on being busy, always juggling multiple projects, always networking at company events. She worked late often, sometimes not getting home until 8 or 9 at night. I never questioned it. I trusted her completely. She was energetic, social, always building connections. That was just who she was. Meanwhile, I was a software engineer at a different company, more introverted, more focused on building a stable future for us. I worked hard, saved money, and made sure we had everything we needed. Lauren was incredibly close to her parents, Richard and Patricia Thompson. They lived just 20 minutes away, and we saw them at least twice a week for dinners or weekend barbecues. After my own parents died in a car accident 3 years into our marriage, Richard and Patricia became my family too. I called Richard for advice, helped Patricia with yard work, spent holidays at their house. They told me I was like a son to them. I believed them, I trusted them. That trust would become one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The morning of our 5th anniversary started like any other day. I woke up at 6:30, reached across the bed, and found it empty. Lauren had left for work at 5:45, texting me that she had an important meeting and needed to get in early. I smiled, thinking about the surprise I had planned for that evening. I got dressed, made coffee, and called Andina Restaurant, our favorite Peruvian spot downtown. I reserved a table for 7 that evening, specifically requesting the corner table by the window where we had celebrated our engagement. The hostess recognized my name and promised to make it special. On my way to work, I stopped at a small flower shop on Hawthorne Street. I bought 24 white roses, Lauren's favorite. The florist wrapped them beautifully in cream-colored paper with a silk ribbon. I hid them in the garage when I got home during lunch, tucking them behind some storage boxes where Lauren would not see them if she got home before me. I also had a gift waiting in my desk drawer at work, a sterling silver bracelet engraved with both our names and our wedding date. I had ordered it 2 months earlier and had been waiting for this moment. At work, I could barely focus. I kept checking the clock, counting down the hours until I could see her face light up. At 10 that morning, I sent her a text that said, "Happy anniversary, beautiful. Cannot wait for tonight." She replied 45 minutes later with "Love you," running between meetings. "See you tonight," followed by a heart emoji. I stared at that message, feeling grateful for the life we had built together. I had no idea that in a few hours, my entire world would collapse. At 4 that afternoon, I made a decision. Instead of leaving work at my usual 5:30, I would go home early. I wanted to set up the house, maybe light some candles, put the roses in a vase, make everything perfect before we left for dinner. I told my manager I was leaving early for my anniversary, and he smiled and told me to have a great night. I stopped at a grocery store on the way home and picked up a bottle of champagne, the expensive kind we only bought for special occasions. As I drove through our neighborhood, I felt this warm anticipation building in my chest. I was so happy, so completely unaware of what was waiting for me. I pulled into our driveway at 4:30 and immediately noticed something strange. Lauren's car was in the garage. That did not make sense. She had texted me saying she would be home around 6. Why was she home early? Then I saw a second car parked on the street in front of our house, a gray Honda Accord I did not recognize. My first thought was maybe she came home early to surprise me too. Maybe that is a friend's car. I felt excited, curious, still completely trusting. I grabbed the champagne and the flowers from the garage and walked to the front door. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. Too quiet. Lauren's purse was on the couch in the living room, her keys on the kitchen counter, but I did not see her anywhere. I called out, "Lauren, honey, you home?" No clear response, just a muffled sound from upstairs. I heard what sounded like low voices, maybe a quiet laugh. My stomach tightened slightly, but I pushed the feeling away. I started walking toward the staircase. As I climbed the stairs, I called out again, louder this time. "Lauren." The sounds from upstairs suddenly shifted. I heard quick movement, shuffling like someone was rushing around. My heart started beating faster. Something felt wrong. The air felt heavy, thick, with a tension I could not name yet. I reached the top of the stairs and walked down the hallway toward our bedroom. The door was slightly open. I could hear breathing, hurried whispers. I pushed the door open. What I saw in that moment will be burned into my memory forever. Lauren was standing near the bed, pulling her blouse on, only halfway dressed. Next to her, a man I had never seen before was buttoning his shirt, his face flushed. The bed was a mess, sheets tangled, pillows on the floor. The smell of unfamiliar cologne hung in the air. For a second, I could not process what I was seeing. My brain refused to accept it. Then it hit me all at once like a punch to the gut. My wife, our bed, another man. I stood frozen in the doorway, the flowers and champagne still in my hands. What the hell is this?" My voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. Lauren's face went white. She looked terrified. "Domingo, I can explain." The man, who I would later learn was named Derek, looked uncomfortable but tried to act calm, like this was some minor inconvenience. I felt my legs go weak. I could not breathe. The room was spinning. How long I managed to get the words out. How long has this been going on? Lauren started crying, her words coming out in broken fragments. "It just happened." "I am so sorry." Derek started edging toward the door, clearly wanting to escape. "Man, I think I should go." I turned to him, my voice suddenly loud, shaking with rage. "You stay right there. I want answers." Lauren tried to explain through her tears, talking about stress at work, about how Derek was always there, how he understood her in ways I supposedly did not. Then she said something that made my blood boil. It was not planned. I cut her off. "On our anniversary today." She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. I felt something break inside me, something I knew would never be fixed. "Get out." My voice was cold, now emotionless. "Both of you get out of my house, now." Derek practically ran out of the room, down the stairs and out the front door. Lauren stood there sobbing, reaching for me. "Domingo, please." I stepped back. "I cannot even look at you right now. Leave. Go to your parents. Just go." She grabbed some clothes and left, still crying, still trying to apologize. I heard her car pull out of the driveway, and then the house was silent again. I walked downstairs in a daze, set the flowers and champagne on the kitchen counter, and sank onto the couch. I sat there for hours, staring at nothing, feeling like the world's biggest fool. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the dark living room, my mind racing through every moment of the last few months, looking for signs I had missed. And they were there. God, they were all there. Lauren coming home late, claiming big projects at work, her constantly checking her phone, angling the screen away whenever I walked into the room. The way she had been distant, turning down intimacy with excuses like, "I am too tired, honey," or not. "Tonight I have a headache." The way she had started dressing differently, wearing more makeup, putting more effort into her appearance. I had noticed all of it, but I had explained it away. She is advancing in her career. She is taking pride in herself. I trusted her. I was an idiot. Around 11 that night, my phone started ringing. Lauren. I ignored the first call. Then the second. Then the 10th. 15 missed calls. Finally, I answered my voice flat. There is nothing to talk about. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Please, Domingo. I made a mistake. I love you. We can fix this. If you loved me, I said you would not have done this, especially not on our anniversary. I hung up and blocked her number. I blocked her on every social media platform, every messaging app. I needed silence. I needed space to think. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I could not face anyone, could not pretend everything was normal. I sat at my desk at home, and that is when I remembered. The security cameras. 6 months earlier, after our neighbor's house was broken into, Lauren and I had installed a security system. We had cameras at the front door in the living room and in the upstairs hallway. Not in the bedroom, we had agreed that felt like too much, but everywhere else. I had access to all the footage through an app on my computer. My hands were shaking as I opened the app and started scrolling back through the recordings. What I found made me physically sick. This was not a one-time mistake. This had been going on for months. I found footage from 2 months ago, a Tuesday afternoon when I'd been away on a business trip. Lauren and Derek arriving at the house together, kissing at the front door, laughing as they went inside. Another video from 6 weeks ago, same thing. Then another from a month ago. And another. I counted 5 separate occasions where Derek had been in our house, in our home, while I was at work or away. They were not even trying to hide it on camera. They looked comfortable, familiar, like this was routine for them. One video hit me especially hard. It was from 3 weeks ago. Lauren was wearing the blue dress I had bought her for her birthday, the one I told her made her look stunning. She was wearing it for him. I watched as they walked into the house hand in hand, and I had to stop the video. I felt like I was going to throw up. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling something shift inside me. The sadness, the heartbreak, it was still there. But something else was rising up too. Anger. Cold, focused anger. I was not going to be the victim in this story. I was going to take control. I spent the next hour downloading every single video. I saved them to an external hard drive, backed them up to the cloud, took screenshots with clear timestamps. If this was going to get messy, and I knew it would, I wanted proof. Undeniable time-stamped video proof. When I finished, I sat back in my chair and felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew what I had to do. I was going to file for divorce. I was going to protect myself. And I was not going to let anyone, not Lauren, not her parents, not anyone, make me feel guilty for it. That afternoon, Richard called me. Domingo, we need to talk about this situation. His voice was serious, almost stern. I agreed to meet him at their house. I thought maybe they will understand. Maybe they will see how wrong this is. Maybe they will support me. I drove to their house in southeast Portland, the same house where I had spent countless Sunday dinners, the same house where I had felt welcome and loved. I parked in the driveway, took a deep breath, and walked to the door. The moment I stepped inside, I knew this was not going to go the way I hoped. Lauren was sitting on the couch, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Richard and Patricia sat on either side of her like they were protecting her. I sat down in the chair across from them, and the setup felt wrong. It felt like I was the one being confronted, not her. Patricia spoke first, her voice gentle but firm. Domingo, we know you are hurt, but you need to calm down and think rationally. I stared at her. Calm down, your daughter cheated on me. On our anniversary. Richard jumped in. Marriages go through rough patches. People make mistakes. You two can work through this. I felt my jaw tighten. Work through this. She brought another man into our house, into our bed. Richard shook his head. Lauren told us she has been feeling neglected. You work too much, Domingo. You are never home. She felt lonely. I could not believe what I was hearing. So this is my fault, Patricia nodded. She is young. She made a mistake. But you are being too harsh. Every marriage has problems. You made vows for better or worse. Lauren finally spoke, her voice small. I felt so alone, Domingo. You were always busy with your projects, your work. Derek was there. He listened. I stood up, my voice rising. I worked to build our future, to pay for this house, to give you everything you wanted. And this is how you repay me. by sleeping with your coworker. Patricia actually had the nerve to look offended. You do not need to raise your voice. We are trying to help. I pulled out my phone, opened the security camera app, and played one of the videos. I held it up so they could all see. Lauren and Derek walking into our house, kissing. The timestamp clear as day. Richard went quiet. Patricia's face tightened. Where did you get this? Did you spy on her? I almost laughed. Spy? It is my house, my security camera that we both agreed to install. You recorded her without her knowing. Patricia's voice was rising, now defensive. This is an invasion of privacy. I looked at her in disbelief. She brought her lover into my house, and you are worried about privacy. Richard tried a different approach. Look, maybe you both just need some space. Do not make any rash decisions. Then Patricia said something that made my decision final. Lauren can stay here as long as she needs. And Domingo, you need to apologize for embarrassing her like this. I stood up slowly. Apologize to her. I came here thinking you would be reasonable, that you would see how wrong this is. But you are just going to protect your daughter no matter what she did. Patricia looked me right in the eye. She is our daughter. Of course we are going to protect her. I nodded. And I was your son-in-law. For 5 years. I was part of this family. But that means nothing to you, does it? Richard sighed. Do not be stupid, Domingo. Think about what you are throwing away. I walked toward the door. I am done here. I am filing for divorce. Lauren jumped up, sobbing. No, please, Domingo. Do not do this, Patricia called after me. You will regret this. I turned back one last time. The only thing I regret is trusting your daughter, and trusting you. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. As I watched their house disappear in the rearview mirror, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Painful, heavy relief. I had not just lost my wife that day. I had lost the only family I had left since my parents died, and they did not even care. They had chosen their side, and it was not mine. Fine, I would choose mine too. The next morning I called a divorce attorney. His name was Stephen Baker, and he came highly recommended by a coworker who had gone through a similar situation. I met him at his office downtown, a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette River. I brought everything with me. The security camera footage on my external hard drive, screenshots with timestamps, text messages, financial records, photos of the house and our assets. Stephen watched the videos, reviewed the evidence, and leaned back in his chair. You have a very strong case, he said. This is clear adultery. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, so technically we do not need this evidence to file, but it will absolutely help in the property division. I told Stephen exactly what I wanted. I wanted the house. I had put down the down payment using the inheritance from my parents' money that was mine before the marriage. I wanted a fair division of our other assets, 50-50, but I was keeping the house. I did not want to pay spousal support, and given that Lauren had a solid income as a senior marketing analyst, Stephen said that was reasonable. He told me the process could take 3 to 6 months if Lauren did not fight it longer if she did. I looked him in the eye. I want this done as fast as possible. Whatever it takes. He nodded. I will draft the petition today. You can review and sign tomorrow. Signing those divorce papers felt surreal. I sat in Stephen's office, pen in hand, staring at the words petition for dissolution of marriage. This was it. 5 years gone. But as I signed my name, I did not feel sad. I felt free. Stephen looked at me. Are you sure? No second thoughts, I shook my head. I have never been more sure of anything in my life. Good, he said. Because once we file this, there is no going back. I want that, I told him. I want to move forward. He filed the papers that afternoon. But I was not done. I knew Derek worked at the same company as Lauren, and I knew their affair had been happening during work hours on company time. That was a violation of their workplace policy. So I drafted an email to the Human Resources Department and to Derek's manager. I kept it professional, factual, and attached proof. Screenshots of timestamps showing when they had been at my house during work hours, evidence that this was an ongoing workplace affair. I did not include the actual videos that felt too invasive and could open me up to legal issues, but the screenshots were enough. I hit send and felt another weight lift off my shoulders. Within 24 hours, the company responded. They opened an investigation. Both Lauren and Derek were called into meetings with HR. I got a call from Lauren that evening, her voice shaking with rage. How could you do this to me? You have ruined my career. People are talking. Everyone knows. I stayed calm. You did this to yourself, Lauren. Now actions have consequences. But my job. Domingo, my reputation. You should have thought about that before you slept with your coworker. In our house. On our anniversary. She started crying again, but this time I felt nothing. No guilt, no sympathy. Just cold, hard resolve. I hung up. 2 days later, I heard through a mutual contact that Derek had been transferred to a different department and Lauren had received an official reprimand. Good. Let them deal with the mess they created. Next, I focused on cutting off all contact. I had already blocked Lauren's number and social media, but she kept trying to reach me through other means. She showed up at the house one evening, banging on the door, begging me to let her in. I called the police. When the officer arrived, I explained the situation calmly. We are going through a divorce. This is my house. She does not live here anymore. The officer asked Lauren to leave. She looked at me with so much hurt and anger, but I did not care. You lost the right to talk to me, I said. Everything goes through my lawyer now. She left and I changed the locks that same night. Richard and Patricia tried to reach me too. Patricia called multiple times, leaving voicemails about how I was being unreasonable, how I was tearing the family apart. Richard showed up at my house one Saturday morning asking to talk man to man. I met him on the front porch, but I did not invite him in. There is nothing to discuss, I said. You made your choice. He sighed. She is our daughter, Domingo. What did you expect us to do? I expected decency. I expected you to at least acknowledge that what she did was wrong. But you did not. You defended her. You blamed me. So we are done. He tried to argue, but I went back inside and closed the door. I blocked both their numbers that afternoon. I wanted to make my position crystal clear, so I sent one final email to Lauren, Richard, and Patricia. The message was short and direct. I am moving forward with my life. Please respect my decision and do not contact me. Any further attempts to reach me will be considered harassment. All communication regarding the divorce should go through my attorney, Stephen Baker. His contact information is below. Then I packed up everything that belonged to Lauren. Every piece of clothing, every piece of jewelry, every personal item. I put it all in boxes, hired a moving company, and had it delivered to Richard and Patricia's house. I included a note that said, "Here are Lauren's belongings. Do not contact me again." The house felt different after that. Empty, but in a good way. I changed the alarm code, installed new locks, and walked through each room reclaiming it as mine. I threw out the sheets from our bed, bought new ones. I repainted the bedroom a different color, a deep gray blue that felt calming. I rearranged the furniture, got rid of anything that reminded me of her. It was exhausting, but with every change I made, I felt lighter, like I was finally taking back control of my life. My friends Marcus and Jake, guys I had known since college, came over to help. They had been supportive from the beginning, never once suggesting I should forgive her or work it out. Marcus brought pizza and beer. Jake brought his toolbox and helped me install new shelves in the garage. You did the right thing, man, Marcus said as we sat on the back porch that evening. I know it does not feel like it now, but you deserve better. Jake nodded. Stay strong. This will get easier. I believed them. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was going to be okay. I also started therapy. I found a counselor who specialized in relationship trauma, and I went every week. At first, it was hard to talk about everything. The betrayal, the anger, the grief of losing not just my wife, but her entire family. But my therapist helped me see that what I was doing, setting boundaries, cutting off toxic people, taking legal action, was healthy. You are protecting yourself, she said. That is not cold or cruel. That is self-preservation. Those words stuck with me. I was not the bad guy here. I was just refusing to be a victim. 3 weeks after I filed for divorce, Lauren was served with the papers. Stephen called me to let me know. She has 30 days to respond, he said. Based on everything, I do not think she will fight it. He was right. Lauren signed the papers without contesting anything. I think she knew she had no leg to stand on, not with the evidence I had. The process moved quickly after that. No drama, no court battles, just paperwork and signatures. 3 months after I found her with Derek, the divorce was finalized. I was free, officially, legally, completely free. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. The first few months after the divorce were strange. There were moments when I still felt the sting, especially on days that used to matter. Our wedding anniversary came around again, and I spent it hiking alone in the Columbia River Gorge, deliberately choosing to do something I loved instead of dwelling on the past. I stood at the top of a trail looking out over the water, and I felt something shift. I was not angry anymore. I was not sad. I was just here, present, alive, moving forward. I threw myself into things I had always wanted to do but never had time for. I started going to the gym 5 days a week, not obsessively, but consistently. I got stronger, healthier. I took up photography and spent weekends exploring Portland with my camera, capturing the city in ways I had never noticed before. I started hiking regularly, discovering trails I had never known existed. I read more, cooked more, learned to enjoy my own company. For the first time in years, I was not trying to make someone else happy. I was just trying to be okay. And slowly, I was. Work got better too. Without the constant stress and distraction of a failing marriage, I was able to focus. I finished a major project ahead of schedule, impressed my manager, and got promoted to senior software engineer with a significant raise. My coworkers noticed the change in me. "You seem different," one of them said. "Lighter." I smiled. "I am." Marcus and Jake remained my anchors. We started a tradition of getting together every Friday night, sometimes just to watch a game, sometimes to try a new restaurant, sometimes just to talk. They never pushed me to date or move on faster than I was ready. They just let me be. About 6 months after the divorce, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Lauren and Derek had broken up. Apparently, it fell apart within 2 months of my discovering them. The person telling me this seemed to expect some kind of reaction, maybe satisfaction or vindication. But I felt nothing. No happiness that they failed, no sadness for what could have been. Just complete indifference. That was when I knew I had truly moved on. She was not part of my life anymore, not even in my thoughts. I had let go. I learned a lot about myself during that year. I learned that trust is important, but blind trust is dangerous. I learned that self-respect matters more than any relationship. I learned that sometimes the people you think are family will choose sides, and it will not always be yours. I learned that you cannot force people to value you, but you can absolutely refuse to stay where you are not valued. I learned that walking away, even when it is hard, even when people call you cold or unforgiving, is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. And I learned that I am stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. Some people, even some friends, told me I was too harsh, that I should have tried therapy with Lauren, that I should have forgiven her, that cutting off her parents was extreme. But here is what I know. Forgiveness does not mean staying. Forgiveness does not mean allowing people back into your life who have shown you they do not respect you. I do not hate Lauren. I do not hate Richard or Patricia. But I do not owe them my time, my energy, or my forgiveness either. I chose my peace over their comfort, and I would make that choice again every single time. A year after I found Lauren with Derek, I was standing in my house, the house that was now fully mine. I had redecorated, made it feel like a space that reflected who I was becoming, not who I used to be. I looked around at the life I had built in the aftermath of betrayal, and I felt proud. Not because I was vindictive or because I had hurt anyone, but because I had chosen myself. I had refused to settle for less than I deserved. I had walked away from people who did not value me, and I had built a life that felt honest and whole. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. I lost a wife-in-laws and 5 years of my life, but I gained something more valuable. I gained myself back. I gained my self-respect, my peace of mind, my freedom. And you know what? I would make the same choice again in a heartbeat. To anyone out there going through something similar, hear me when I say this. You deserve better. Do not settle for less. Do not let anyone, not your partner, not their family, not even people who claim to love you, make you question your worth. Walk away if you need to. Protect your peace. Choose yourself. It will be hard, but it will be worth it. That is my story. Thank you for listening. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice to walk away from someone you loved because they betrayed your trust? How did you find the strength to move forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories matter. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find this channel and know they are not alone. Subscribe if you have not already because I share more real-life stories like this one every week. And share this video with someone who might need to hear it, someone who is struggling to choose themselves. Your support means everything. I want to thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this community. I wish you strength, peace, and the courage to always choose what is best for you. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.